G'day van lifers. Today, I want to share with you the 5 most important budgeting tips on how to save money before you create your dream home on wheels. Because over the last 2.5 years, I've spent my hard-earned money, blood, sweat and tears on creating my dream home on wheels. And I want to help you save thousands of dollars because I wish I knew these tips prior to starting my build. Because number 4, I have not read anywhere else, and I guarantee you it's going to save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Number 1 on this list is non-negotiables. This won't help you in the short term financially, but I guarantee you in the long term, it definitely will. Because on last week's video, I talked about the overall budget of how much this van cost me to convert to my dream home on wheels. And you would have seen I put it into different sectors: the kitchen, the bedding, the rear trunk, the cabin. You know what I'm trying to say. Let's take the kitchen, for example. I had some non-negotiables in the planning and designing stage that I really wanted for long-term life in this van. They were a full-size oven and a decent-sized fridge. So I got a full-size oven and a 130-litre Bushman fridge. So during the planning and process stage, I really dedicated 2 allocations of a large area to those 2 non-negotiables. So what would this help with financially down the track? Simply put, not buying crap. You won't buy crap to put in your van and realize later on that you've got stuff laying around because you all bought it at once. I've got more on that just a little bit later. Number 2 could not be further down the spectrum than our non-negotiables, because for me, our non-negotiables are the premium echelon we cannot live without. This is buying secondhand. Now, I know a lot of people will screw their nose up and say, I'm never buying secondhand. That's fine. If that's you, move on to number 3, save money elsewhere. But there's always room to buy secondhand, no matter what your budget is. Whether it's $1,000 or $100,000, you can save money. That is by buying secondhand. We're here because we're DIYs. We want to create our own dream home on wheels. It might be tools. Buy secondhand. Don't spend $300 on a brand new Makita. Spend $50 on someone that's getting rid of an old unit. Whether it's old cabinetry, you can rejuvenate it, put it in your van. Or buy your electrical gear secondhand, still under warranty. eBay is a great place for that because you've got idiots like me that don't buy the right thing the first time and need to sell their old gear to upgrade, where you can go and save a couple of $100 by buying secondhand units under warranty to continue and start your venture to living this beautiful van life around Australia. So buy secondhand, save some quid. Number 3, by far, I'll put my hand up and say it, is the worst possible one on this list. That's why I want to give you an extra one after number 5, because this one is just so crap. It is to budget properly. Now, I know what you're going to say, Matt, we're here to save money. Of course, going to budget properly. But I'll give you one tip. You always go over budget. So this is what I want to explain to you. Let's go back to number 1, our non-negotiables. We put it into sections of the kitchen, bedding, etc. Take the kitchen again. If I've got $5,000 to spend on the kitchen, I want to allocate about 25 to 30% of my budget towards non-negotiables. Sometimes it will vary, but we're going to allocate money towards those non-negotiables. Therefore, that for me was the oven and also fridge setup. Now, my budget was a little bit more than that, and it generally will be different for everyone out there, but a percentage of the budget is still the same. Whether it's $10,000 or $100,000, a percentage of 20% is still the same. So we allocate that money toward our non-negotiables. This will help us with our budget and not buying that crap once again. Now, I can guarantee you at the start of your build, please go down and separate it into different sections: the kitchen, the bedding setup, the shower setup, whatever it may be for your build, and put it in a priority list of what is most important to you. For me, it was the kitchen, then I went into the bedding area, then I went to the trunk, and allocate the money of how you want to do it, because otherwise you just go over budget and blow it all away. Number 4 is by far the most critical aspect, what I wish I knew 2.5 years ago prior to this build, and the number 1 thing that I tell everyone when they ask for some advice on building their own camper van, and that is 80% planning, 20% building. It's the old saying, measure twice, cut once. I know what you're saying, how are you meant to build an entire van for 20% building? But if we allocate 10 minutes, allocate 8 minutes of planning, 2 minutes of building, I guarantee you in the long run, it'll not only save you money, but also your valuable time. How are we going to do this? Getting back to our budget. Sit down for not just a day, but a week and allocate where our money can go to. Therefore, when Black Friday comes along, Christmas sales come along, we've got that money stashed away to allocate towards those sales, saving us money. Secondly, go out and rent a van. Go and watch YouTube, find out what you love, what you don't like, because then you can actually start to implement your own visual aspect into building your own van. If you already have your van, get some masking tape, lay out what you want to plan, whether your kitchen, your shower, your bedding setup in your van, and maybe go away and just sleep in it. And try and visually imagine yourself cooking there and just get the understanding of repetition going through it. If I put that there, this wouldn't work and that wouldn't work there. When I went and rented vans, I didn't talk about what I loved in that van. I talked about what I hated in that van, because what I hate gives me an idea of what will have the outcome to make it better. If you ever see my van in real life and you say, oh, I love that, that is from a trip I done in Norway. It didn't work for me, but I found out what does, and the diesel heater comes up, warms up my clothes that are wet, and it helps them dry. There are so many ways to go through the planning process and not just have in your mind, on September 13th, I need to get it finished, I need to go to Queensland and do this trip, blah, 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 and you get overwhelmed on the planning stage and you forget critical aspects of what works and what doesn't work. And this rolls in perfectly to my extra tip that I guarantee you will completely save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Number 5, and not quite lucky last, but this is to buy everything last. Now, by everything, I don't mean your non-negotiables and what you need to operate the van, your fridge, your electronics, but it's what the operator yourself needs to enjoy the van. This could be fake plants, photo frames, cutlery, bowls, plates, pot plants, whatever it may be. Let's just take the kitchen once again for example. Let's just say plates and bowls. I want to break this down into 2 sections. First one, through the planning stage, allocate where you want those bowls and plates to go. Maybe choose one out, find a rough dimension of what you're working with, but don't buy them. Because for me, I went through and bought all them probably in the first 3 months because it was exciting. I wanted to get into it. I wanted different colors. So I went and bought pots and pans, the biggest mistake that I bought. They had handles on them. With my original planning, it was fine. It worked. I had allocations for them to fit. But through the planning stage and getting onto that most important one, which I'm going to give on to you last, it changed. A lot changed. 3 times actually. So when I finally finished the van and went to allocate that space for them, they didn't fit. Number 2, moving on, is when you had that allocation, you're fully finished, you have dimensions of what you want to do. So whether you go into a shop, Amazon, eBay, buy them, you know exactly what's going to fit. For me, it was simple things like I bought a coffee maker. It didn't fit. I had to buy a specific one from Germany to make sure it fit, because I didn't allocate that space originally for it, or it made changes. So buy everything last that is your non-negotiable or not critically important for the van. Now I want to get onto the most important extra one, I believe, because all this will make sense. Rightio, if there's 2 things that you can take away from this video, it is the 80% planning, 20% building, and this right here. Go out and use your camper van throughout the building phase for 2 main reasons. You'll go out and quickly work out what works and what doesn't work. And secondly, for your noggin. Because when you build a camper van, it completely takes over your life. Financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, it will take over your life. So going out there and remembering why we're doing this and why we love camping in the outdoors will be very, very important. But if you watch my overall camper van build, you know that I went to Victoria, come back and ripped my entire bedding system out because it just did not work, adding another 5 to 6 months onto my build. I put myself in a new environment with a lot of rain I just don't get in South Australia, and for a week it just rained and rained and rained. For me, that was foreign. I worked out very quickly it didn't work for my setup. So, go out, use the van, and you'll very quickly understand what works and what doesn't work. Bring a notepad, write a list, because when I come out from Victoria, my list was about this long, and even to this day, I still write a list of what works and what doesn't work. When I'm going past home, I'll just quickly alter those things. Even last week, I went home and done 5 things off that list, even though I finished my van for months now. So this is the process. 80% planning, 20% building, go out and use it. Come home. 80% planning, 20% building, go out and use it. The list will get shorter and you'll become very close to that 95% complete build. I always say that because you're never going to have a perfect build. But if you're out there and building your own camper van, or you just finished building your own camper van, or possibly looking at starting building your camper van, let me know in the comments below. what is the number one tip you'd give someone else that wants to build their own dream home on wheels on how to save money with their build? For now, I want to watch the sunset, and I'll hopefully see you somewhere out in this beautiful country we call home, Australia, camp vanning and enjoying the great outdoors. But that's it for me now. Ciao.